Hi, today I want to show you some fun fall DIYs. So the first DIY are these painted bottles, and all I did was basically I found some fonts that I liked, and I cut out the letters for pumpkins and apples on my silhouette. The pumpkins I wanted to do copper with silver, and the apples were a dark red with bright yellow. I used cardstock for the yellow. I thought I would just glue that on, and then the glitter vinyl was the sticky vinyl, permanent vinyl. And I used my favorite copper paint and this barn red that I thought would look really nice for the fall. And I just did one coat with this sort of wide background painting brush. I didn't really want it to be too thick, so I tried to do a nice thin coat and just made sure that I really liked the way the copper looked with the silver. And then, like I said, I just painted the whole thing one coat and sort of, the one thing about painting on glass, obviously, it's not as smooth as you might do a jar. You really do need to do 2 coats to have it look smooth. And this is just me smoothing it out. I let these dry completely in between coats. But I did both, I did the copper on the wine bottle and then the red on this pasta jar. And I thought they looked pretty nice. So if you wanted to do something where you put lights inside the bottles, 1 coat might be enough. It would probably look pretty nice with lights inside the bottles, but I was not going to do that, so I did end up doing 2 coats. It's still not super thick. I have previously done this. I did Christmas bottles with gold, and that I did sort of a white acrylic paint as a primer. But for these, I just did the same color as basically as the primer. So then I was ready to, once they were both coats were on, I was ready to add my letters. And I tried to do this with transfer tape for the pumpkin jar, and it didn't work. I think part of it was that I made a mistake when I cut it out on the silhouette with using the silhouette. Instead of setting it at the glitter vinyl setting, I still had it set at my cardstock setting, so it cut too deep. But then I also realized I wasn't going to be able to put the letters exactly along the bottle the way I wanted to using the tape anyway. I was going to either have to cut the tape up or do something funky to do that. So I decided just to try to wing it and hope that it turned out okay, that I didn't make any mistakes with it. And it actually worked out okay, though I did have to be very careful smushing the letters in. But I think it turned out pretty nicely. I like the way it looks. And then for the cardstock letters, like I said, I just wanted to glue it, and I just used a glue stick. So we had these, little kid type glue sticks that are purple, but then they turn clear as they dry. And I just glued those on. I think the only thing that you might not like about that is that the glue itself, so the paint is this acrylic red paint is pretty a matte color. And the glue itself is glossy. So it does look like there is, some shiny spots on it. But where I ended up putting them, it didn't matter. But I think probably if I was putting them somewhere where a light would be shining right on them, I would probably put a shiny coat of some sort of finish, either spray or, something like a shiny matte Mod Podge or something so that you couldn't see the shiny parts. And then I added these little, they were just leaf confettis. They called them confettis, but they're kind of big. And I just glued them on too. And then I just really liked the way they looked, both of them. And then I did think that the wine bottle needed a little something else, so I put a piece of wired ribbon, this copper wired ribbon that I got around the top, just as a little added embellishment for that guy, and then hot glued it on. So these were pretty simple. I mean, it was just some paint and the letters, and you could get, I cut them out on my silhouette, but you could use stencils or get stickers. So the next DIY is this paper Hello Pumpkin sign that I made. So the first thing I did, I decided to make it out of cardstock, totally out of cardstock. I made the pumpkins and the lettering on my silhouette, but I decided to use multiple layers of the cream colored cardstock to make the sign so it would be a little stiffer, and then I Mod Podged them together. You could also, I mean, I thought about, a lot of people get the wooden cutouts from Dollar Tree or Hobby Lobby or those places, and those would work too, but I wanted to do this completely paper and see how it turned out. Because I don't know, I really enjoy cutting things out on my silhouette, so sometimes making the designs like this and doing it this way makes me very happy. So I just did 3 layers and just cut out the same pumpkin 3 times. And then, like I said, I Mod Podged it together, just made sure all the edges were attached, and hopefully it will not come apart in the future. And then I took this design I bought on So Fancy, this orange and the orange and brown design. I've found a lot of great stuff on there. Sometimes you can get things, they have a freebie every week, and I've done some of the, for sale items. And then I bought a few things that I really liked. But, like I said, I cut this out with the orange cardstock. And you can see it overlaps a little bit, and I will fix that later after I get everything glued down. And the brown cardstock. Again, just Mod Podged it all on and made sure every piece of it was attached properly. And realized that while I definitely wanted to do Mod Podge on this paper so I didn't get it stuck to my table, but it did stick a little bit to the paper, so that we have to be a little careful of. But I thought it looked really cute. But I had to touch up a few pieces just to make sure that they were fully attached. And of course I Mod Podged all over myself as well, because that's what you do when you're touching glue. And then I'd put this brown bottom on. And I saved the little pieces. Now, since this was a complete cutout, I had to save the little pieces to put back into the peas. And that was kind of fun, trying to get the little pieces stuck in the glue and not stuck to my finger. So that took a little bit of finagling, but I got them in, and I thought, like I said, I thought it ended up really cute. And one thing that I thought about doing, but I didn't do, was distressing the edges a little bit with some brown paint. And so I'm going to use these 2 popsicle sticks to give it some more support. And one thing I found since I Mod Podged it is that as the glue dried, it curled up a little, so I flattened them out with those heavy books that you saw me taking off. And then I just hot glued the popsicle sticks to the back. I'm hoping that will keep this upright, because I wanted to have it as a standing sign. And then I used the little piece of plastic. It was a piece of pencil. Not a piece of pencil, a holder for pencil leads for mechanical pencils. And when we were done with it, it's like, oh, I thought we could use it somewhere, and this was perfect to make a little stand for this sign. And then I just took a piece of scrap wood that I sanded previously and hot glued it onto this hot glued the sign using this little piece of plastic and just held it till the glue was dry. And then it just turned out so freaking cute. I love it. So the next DIY is this pumpkin kisses sign. Another thing I cut out using my silhouette. I decided to make a circular sign, so I just cut out some circles, and then I cut out this. I found this pumpkin kisses, and I cut that out of copper colored vinyl. And I'm going to add some leaves and acorns and little pine cones and a key maybe, and we'll see maybe some pieces. I have this wheat that I bought last year. I think it was at Michael's. And I'm going to add some of that onto it. So I just, again, Mod Podged the circles together. I cut out 3 of the circles and Mod Podged them all together. And then I took a piece of this scrapbook paper that was sort of a old-fashioned apothecary bottles I thought would look really cute for the fall. And cut out a piece of that and just, obviously tried to lined it up just by eye how I wanted it to look and cut it to size. And then I used my glue stick and glued that on. And once I got the glue, just the good old kids glue. And then again, I took some. This time, I still again cut this vinyl too deep, just like I did with the previous project, and the pumpkins on the previous project. But I was able to use the transfer tape properly this time because it was a longer. I wasn't doing one letter at a time, so. And I usually don't use a tool for the burnishing or the smush, pushing it down. I usually just use my fingers. Every once in a while I'll push it with something else. I use the scissors and the bat, the handle and the scissors and stuff, but mostly I just use my fingernails. And then I put it on here, smushed it real good, and then very carefully peeled it off. And they say, 45-degree angle does seem to work pretty well. And I thought that turned out pretty cute. So then I just did the same thing for the kisses. And lined that up below the pumpkin part. And got pumpkin kisses, which I think is a really cute saying. And again, just peeled it off very slowly and carefully, and everything stuck pretty well, which I was very happy with. And I'm going to save the vinyl backing and in case I could use it again for some other project, and I'll definitely save the transfer tape because that you can use multiple times, I think. And then I just pulled out my findings and started gluing them onto the circles as well. And I said I had a pack of those came from Michael's, the little leaves, and this key that my husband picked up a large batch of old keys at a yard sale, and then I had, I bought a couple boxes of little fall findings, acorns and pine cones and different seed pods, and then I just glued I used the stick glue, the kids glue for the leaves, because that seemed to work really well with those leaves, and then hot glued everything else on. And I should have remembered, this was one thing I forgot to do while I was cutting with the silhouette, is put the holes for the, I wanted to put a hanger on this, and I did not cut the holes out on the silhouette, which would have been a lot easier. Instead, I just took this very sharp crafting knife that we have. And I have this, it's actually crochet thread, I believe, a thick crochet thread for that thicker crochet lace, and but I don't really do crochet anymore. I thought it would be, it's the same color as the cream background, so I did use that as my hanger. And then I wanted to add 1 or 2 of these pieces of wheat as well. So I just hot glued the wheat on. And that was it for this DIY. Another one you could probably distress a little, but I did not. So the last DIY is this sparkly bow. And I have this copper wired ribbon that I really, really like. I bought it this year. I got it on Amazon. And while I am not an expert bow maker by any means, and I had to mess around with it, as you can see, I was trying different things to try to get it to come out even. But I just basically made a 2-bowed bow. And then I took a piece of, I have a piece of very narrow ribbon that I had left over from another project, instead of using a piece of wire, and I tied a double knot to hold the bow together. And then I fluffed it up a little, and I thought about using this orange glitter ribbon, but I didn't think it really went that well with the copper, so I just did 2 more bows in a couple different directions. Tied them again with the narrow ribbon. And I'm never sure if I should do this dovetailing for the ribbon, but it does kind of look nice at the end. So I did that to all of the streamers. Like I said, I did 3 of the copper colored bows. And then I wanted to add one more something, so I had this lighter, slightly narrower, also copper colored wired ribbon, and made another bow out of this. I think this one I did a couple extra bows on the same piece of wired ribbon. Tied that in with the narrow ribbon, dovetailed the little ends, fluffed everything up nicely, and then double knotted it so that the holder, so that it won't ever come off, hopefully. And then I had these little velvet pumpkins I bought this year at Hobby Lobby. I love all the little velvet pumpkins that are out, and then I just hot glued it on. And I thought it turned out really, it's very simple, and it really only took about 5 minutes, even with the hot gluing. And then I added this ornament hanger as my hanger so that I could hang it wherever I wanted to. So that you could do a piece of wire, but I happen to have some ornament hangers around, and I just love the way that turned out. That's it for the DIYs. I hope you enjoyed them. If you did, please give them a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks. Bye. Have a great day.